Hakadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha, day 13, Halacha Memdaled Lemala, right? Halacha 44. With this blessing, we're talking about the Bracha Voter Yisrael B'Tif'ara. With this blessing, we're thanking Hakadosh Baruch Hu for providing us hats, turbans, and other head coverings. If you remember, I always told you that the Pe'er, according to the Rosh, was Tefillin Shel Rosh.
Is what?
Rosh, Tefillin Shel Rosh. Pe'er.
Tefillin Shel Rosh?
The Tefillin Shel Rosh. Right? If you remember, we said, because he used to actually say the bracha and kiss, the Tefillin Shel Rosh, because he says that it's actually a kechatan yechayen pe'er v'chakala tedekelea, right? Like a chatan that puts on the pe'er. And also, what do we say? Pe'er tachat evel. An avel, person in avelut, he doesn't put on pe'er. What is a pe'er? It's tefillin. Right? It's a pe'er, it's a pe'er. So that's what it is. The first day is Doraita. First day of Avelut. He doesn't put on also when he's on obviously not. He doesn't do anything doing that. Matome?
No. What's the first day?
34 on the bottom. The Talmud teaches when someone puts on his head covering, he must say the bracha voter Yisrael b'Tif'ara. But Yisrael comes and he quotes Rabbi David Abudaham, testifying that the Jewish residents of Arab countries all recite this blessing since their practice is to wear a turban or fez, which is similar to a crown. In Spain, however, people do not wear a turban or fez, and therefore the Jews reciting there do not say the bracha at all. Right? Tosafot, however, ruled that this blessing must be said or there's any sort of hat or head covering. The Pri Chadash insists that this blessing applies to all head coverings, pointing out that even in Arab countries, only people in high social positions wear these type of head coverings called a sudar. Our sages taught that even an esteemed Torah scholar in Talmudic era did not wear a sudar unless he was married. Yet when no one suggests that the blessing is not going to be recited only when he becomes married, the blessing was instituted for the benefit of head coverings of all types. Manan added that for the reason reciting a separate blessing for head covering, besides the blessing recited the whole governments, it's forbidden to go bareheaded. Right? And that reasoning is supported by the Gemara and Shabbat, Tafkuf Yudchet Amud Bet. Even those poskim rule that it is not forbidden to go bareheaded, agreed that it's still preferable point to always go with the hair, with the thing. See the discussion and topic in Siman Bet. This is, by the way, where we get into the concept of a kippah. Is a kippah obligated mitzad halacha or not? The Zohar HaKadosh says unequivocally, right, that he says that one must keep one's head covered at all times. Since it applies to Jewish people only, and the practice of wearing a head covering is one is developing a fear of heaven. It brings yirat shamayim. So we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu with crowning us with glory. These two blessings on the top now, right? These two blessings of Oziel said b'Tif'ara are unique among the morning blessings since they specify the exalted status of the Yisrael. All other physical benefits described in other blessings apply to all the people in the world. But these benefits are spiritual, right? And therefore, only the people of Israel have these privileges. The people of Israel are being commanded to study Torah and to pray to God, and therefore they must wear garments that symbolize a barrier between their hearts and their private areas by wearing pants or a belt. Other people have no such need. They may pray to God without any such of a barrier. Likewise, since the Shekhinah, hovers above the heads of Israel to protect them, they are expected to cover their heads in the respect of the Shekhinah. Since non-Jews are not connected to the Shekhinah, right? There are very few non-Jewish societies, if any, where religious dogma, right, requires one to keep one's head covered. Halacha number 46, right? Memvav. At one time, there were people who observed the practice of putting on a garment with its seat before Oziel Yisrael Bigvura. Rabbeinu Asher, you bring it down. The Rosh had the custom of reciting the morning blessings up until Oter Yisrael B'Tif'ara, pausing to put on tefillin and then reciting the blessing. He reasoned that tefillin and the glory of the nation of Israel is Perecha Chavush Alecha, Ra Chavush Alecha. What does that mean? Fasten your glory upon you. And therefore, he reasoned that this blessing refers to the mitzvah of tefillin. Nowadays, though, no one observes these customs. We recite the morning blessing all at once, including the blessing of the mitzvah of the Torah, and only afterwards we put on our talit and tefillin. This procedure follows instructions of the Rizal HaKadosh and of Shalom Rabbi, as explained in Siman Kaf Hey. Let's see the footnote 35. The author of the Tur testified that this was the practice of his father, the Rosh. And this is also said in the Shulchan Aruch. The Mishnah Berurah explained that the tefillin are the glory of the people of Israel, as we are taught in the Gemara Masechet Berachot. All the nations will see the God's name, right? It says that, they will fear you, referring to the mitzvah of tefillin. Therefore, the Rosh said that this blessing expresses thanks to Hashem for this glory. The Rabbeinu Rosh was a proponent of the practice of first going to the synagogue and then saying all the berachot, right? So that makes sense now. Meaning the Rosh held that you go to the first Bet Knesset and then you do all the berachot in Bet Knesset, so it makes sense. right? Apparently, the Ratzot HaChaim pointed out that this was a practice put on Sevidin only after arriving in the synagogue, counter to the instruction even in the Zohar HaKadosh that you should do it at home and then go to the synagogue. Apparently, the Rosh was unaware of the Zohar's existence.
Part of the Zohar HaKadosh is going with the tefillin from
Exactly, from the house to the Bet Knesset. And if you don't do that, so at least put it on in the outside of the, like in the, the back of the Bet Knesset, and then you come inside. Fine. Next, Halacha 47. Shelo asani goy. Shomea? Shelo asani isha. Okay. Says over here, every day we are obligated to bless HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the fact that we are full-fledged Jews and that we do not have an inferior status of non-Jews or non-Jewish slaves belonging to Jews. Men are also obligated to recite an additional bracha, which is the fact that they are male and not female. Okay, the custom of Sephardic Jews is to recite these blessings at the end of the list of the short blessings, just before the blessing of Ma'avir Chevle Shena. Ashkenazic Jews recite these blessings at the start of the list, immediately after Noten L'Sechvi Binah. So very interesting. The difference between Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. Sfaradim we do it at the end, and Ashkenazim at the beginning. Right after Noten L'Sechvi, right, Noten L'Sechvi Binah, boom. Ashkenazim come and they say these blessings. We say it at the end of the list. Okay? 36 and 37. Shelo asani goy. The responsa, Zecher Yosef Stern, pointed out that there's a problem with using the term goy, right, to refer to non-Jews. After all, the Jewish nation is also goy echad ba'aretz. They're also goy, right, many times in the Torah, right? So therefore, and it's called complementary. So what's the concept there? For example, if it says, he says goy echad ba'aretz, right? Who could compare to Bnei Yisrael that they are goy echad? He concluded the term goy is indeed incorrect. But the church's censor inserted that term so that the blessing would not be derogatory towards Christians. And it's really bad, it wasn't written goy. But the censorship put goy, so that way, it's something positive. Goy just means a nation. Yeah? Some poskim substituted the term nochri. Yeah, so he says it's nochri. Maze nochri, right? A stranger for the term goy. See, look at Rav Shlomo Zalman or Harav Zalman Shulchan Aruch Harav, right? For both of these terms, explaining that the term nochri means a stranger, someone that's not related, but not necessarily a non-Jew. The term arel is also not, because sometimes a physical distinction, right? Well, we wish to mark a spiritual distinction. Meaning, if you say arel, which means without a brit milah, that's something physical. We were talking about spiritual. If you say nochri just means a stranger. So it's not, you understand? So there's testimony. Yeah, exactly. So he says there's testimony. The Chavetz Chaim recited the blessing, Shelo asani oved kochavim umazalot. Shelo asani akum. Oved kochavim umazalot. Right? Who did not make me an idol worshiper. The Chavetz Chaim used to do that. So he says many authorities recited this text as well, since there are millions of non-Jews who do not worship idols. Okay? The accepted and widespread custom to recite the text Shelo asani goy. Achronim explained that although the Jewish nation is also referred to as goy, when the term refers to a single individual, it always means a non-Jew. The Stechemet's conclusion is that it's best to say Shelo asani goy kegoyei aratzot. Right? The Orach Ne'eman, which I think the Orach Ne'eman is the Rav Mazuz, complained that people must not assume that they can change the text of our blessings as they please. As he ruled, the one should think these extra words and not verbalize them. Despite this complaint, one may follow the advice of the Stechemet. In this case, one is not necessarily adding or changing the blessing. If the additional words kegoyei aratzot are a legitimate suffix to the blessing, it's fine to recite those words. And if they should not be part of the blessing, then we can stipulate that they should not be considered part of the blessing, since the blessing ended with the word goy, and the additional words are a separate statement. This is similar to adding the words, right, ve'al ha-kalkala, at the end of the Bitman Shalosh, or adding umatzliach, at the end of the final blessing of the wedding ceremony, that is customarily done. That's what we do. Umatzliach, they actually usually wait until they answer amen, and then they do it, right? And also al-kalkala. Exactly, that's what we do. That's our minhag. Fine. Why not use a more positive wording? So the Beit Chadash pointed out, with all other morning blessings, it's always positive. We give thanks to God for a benefit, saying that He gave us positive. He gave us clothing, He that. Why all of a sudden now for this? Why don't we just say Shasani Yisrael? Shasani Yisrael. Why Shelo asani goy? Shelo asani amen. Shelo asani positive. Shasani Yisrael. Shasani ben chorin. Shasani ish. Yeah, la creme de la creme. Why in the positive? Why in the negative? So the Bach cited several authorities who reconciled by this citing the Gemara and Ruvin, declaring that the man would have rather been not created than created. So it makes no sense to bless HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He created us, right? He says when we recite these three blessings, it's as if we're saying, I wish that I have not been created, but now that I'm created, I thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I'm not a non-Jew, I'm not a non-Jewish slave, and I'm not even a Jewish woman. The Bach did not consider this answer satisfactory, and therefore he offered his own resolution. And he says as follows: if our Chachamim instituted a blessing of Shasani Israel, it would not be possible afterwards to make a bracha that he made me into a free man or he made me into a male. Because once a person thanks Hashem that he's a Israel, that's it. Automatically, he's not a slave and he's not going to use a male. Since a Jewish man, right, is not going to be called a Israel, but a Israelite. The only way we can recite these three separate blessings is if we go in the negative. Shasani Goy. You cannot say, if you say Shasani Israel, as kamuvan ata kvar gever, kamuvan ata ben chorim, that as zeu, Shasani Israel, zeu. Okay? The Turei Zahav offered an alternative resolution. If we would simply just make the bracha that we Shasani Israel, it would suggest that the creation of non-Jews and of women is worthless. This is not true. Jewish women are essential and occupy an honored place in both of this world and the world to come. Furthermore, the world benefits from the creation of non-Jews as well, especially since many of them convert and join the Jewish nation. The Gemara says that God guaranteed the continued existence, right, of the nations of Ammon and Moab, right, because of the different root and Naamah that came from Moab and Ammon, and they would convert. The Bach explained, okay, so who did not make me then? So he says, the Bach explained that these blessings are meant to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the fact that we were not born as a different person. At that moment, the child is conceived, an angel is instructed to place a soul inside the embryo. Each person thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually gave him. So according to this interpretation, a convert would not recite the bracha of Shelo Asani Goy, because Bemet, he was a Goy, right? And he just finishes with that. He doesn't actually speak about that, but we'll continue day 14 until we